Members, please make sure your mics are on. Wow, mine is really on. Good evening. I call this February 11th meeting of the Morrisville Town Council to order. Thank you to those here with us in person tonight, those watching via live stream, and those who are watching a recording of this meeting. Our town mission statement, which helps guide our decisions tonight and into the future, is connecting our diverse community to an enhanced quality of life through innovative programs and services. Officer Jasmine Thompson is our Sergeant at Arms for this evening's meeting. We thank you for your attendance. This evening, Councilmember Fender will be leading our invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. God, Spirit of the universe, help. Such a small word. Help us remember why we are here. Help us set aside our egos, our politics, our grievances and fears, and remember that we are servants of this community and to each other. Our responsibility is to serve the common good of all. Show us the way. Help us as leaders to not ask first, how do we fix this, but what do we need to learn? How might we need to change? To whom do we need to listen? Guide us to seek first to understand, then to be understood. Help us remember no matter where we live, everyone, gay, straight, transgender, black or white, Hispanic or Asian, Muslim, Jew, Hindu, Sikh, or atheist, is our neighbor, our sibling that throughout the ages prophets have called the leaders of the people to respect and protect the least of those among us. Our children, the elderly, the poor, those who are hungry, those who have no homes, those that are ill in body, mind, or spirit, the strangers and immigrants in our midst, those who live on the margins, those who are alone, those who are forgotten, because we've all felt alone at times in our lives. Help. Grant us the wisdom and courage to know and do what's right. Help us speak out when it is time to speak out and listen patiently, receptively when it is time to listen. May we always be guided by the spirit of community and by the spirit of love. Amen.
Amen. All who are able, please stand as we recite the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we adopt tonight's agenda, Town Council policy is to review and ensure there are no conflicts of interest or appearance of conflict of interest with any items on the agenda. Does there anyone have anything they'd like to share? Okay, at this time I'd like to recognize Town Manager Zudema.
Thank you, Mayor. Would like to request that we add 2 closed sessions to tonight's agenda. One would fall under property acquisition and the other would fall under personnel, please.
Okay, I'd entertain a motion to adopt this evening's agenda with that change made.
I move that we adopt this evening's agenda with the addition of the 2 closed sessions.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rao, a second from Councilmember Rabati. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously, 7-0. There is one item on this evening's consent agenda, FY25 budget ordinance amendments. Would any member of council wish to pull this item for discussion, or is there a motion and second to adopt the consent agenda? I'd entertain a motion to adopt.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilmember Scoggins Johnson, a second from Councilmember Rabati. All those in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. Administrative reports are provided for information only. Does council have any specific questions regarding the fire department gap analysis? Okay, we are moving right along. We appreciate Chief Dooley being here this evening in case we had questions. We have one presentation this evening. At this time, Councilmember Fender will read the proclamation recognizing National Engineers Week.
Proclamation recognizing February 16th to the 22nd, 2025 as National Engineers Week. Design your future. whereas engineers use their scientific skills and specialized knowledge in skills in creative and innovative ways to fulfill society's needs, and whereas engineers help solve major technological challenges of our time, and from designing efficient building systems to rebuilding towns devastated by natural disasters. And whereas engineering has been called the invisible or stealth profession because everything around us and things we use every day have been engineered in some way, yet we may not see the engineers behind the scenes or know much about engineering. And whereas founded in 1951, National Engineers Week, E-Week, is dedicated to ensuring a diverse and well-educated future engineering workforce by increasing understanding of and interest in engineering and technology careers. And whereas E-Week is a formal coalition of more than 70 engineering, education, and cultural societies with more than 50 corporations and government agencies dedicated to raising public awareness of engineers' positive contributions to quality of life. And whereas E-Week promotes recognition among parents, teachers, and students of the importance of a technical education and a high level of math, science, and technology literacy, and motivates youth to pursue engineering careers in order to provide a diverse and vigorous engineering workforce. Now, therefore, the Town Council does hereby recognize the week of February 16th through the 22nd, 2025 as National Engineers Week, and calls upon all engineers and government agencies and calls upon all residents to join with representatives of the National Society of Professional Engineers and government agencies in activities, events, and ceremonies designed to pay tribute to our engineering professionals and to recognize the substantial contributions that they make to technological advancements, global challenges, and creating a future shaped by their collective ingenuity. I'd like to call my fellow engineer, Mark Spanoli, to receive this. I think we want to bring up all the engineers.
Yeah, I'd like to call up the engineers that work with us, some that we work with number three. Non-offender happens to be
There you go.
2 cents an hour.
No, I'm not. Pretend engineer.
Systems engineer account? Oh, I was because I'm a systems engineer.
Thank you so much and congratulations to all of our engineers.
The next item on our agenda is public address. Interim Town Clerk, is there anyone signed up?
No, sir, Mayor, no one signed up to speak. You did receive one emailed public comment. That public comment was received outside of your time frame, so as specified, that has been shared with you via email. In summary, that individual did express support for the engineer's proclamation.
That's great. Is there anyone here in the audience who would like to address this body for up to 3 minutes on any subject of your choosing? Even if you didn't sign up, that would be okay. Okay, moving on. As a reminder, we encourage the submission of written comments as they offer a valuable way for community members to share their feedback. Interim Town Clerk, could you just go over, just for the record, what the time frame is that they have to submit in order to be read?
Sure. So the outlined time frame on the town's website and in accordance with Town Council Rules of Procedure is that emailed public comments can be received from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Anything received outside of that time frame is still accepted and shared with town council. It just will not be shared in totality. It won't be read verbatim. It is still part of the public record. Council still receives those comments. Those just are not incorporated at the same level into the public comment period during the meeting.
Thank you very much. Very helpful. Okay, we have one new item on this evening's agenda. I'll invite Town Manager Brendan Zudema, who's already in front of us, to brief Town Council on the resolution increasing the FY 2025 full-time position and pay grade classification. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Want to quickly acknowledge a number of our budget and finance staff who are here tonight to hear this and support this concept with you. So we discussed this briefly at retreat, but wanted to come back to you with some additional information detailing a consolidation of our budget and finance departments, and then to have a discussion with you about a mid-year ask outside of normal cycle. So as you recall, our former finance director, Nancy Emsley, retired last summer. So in my conversations with Jeannie Hooks, our Director of Management Services, who has responsibility over both the budget and finance areas, and then subsequently with Byron Hayes, our Budget Director, we elected to name Byron as our interim finance director. One, we needed someone with that skill set to sit on an interim basis. And then two, it also gave us an opportunity to examine the two departments and to determine if two separate departments was our best path forward, or if perhaps a consolidation was an opportunity for us in terms of efficiencies and better operations for the town, and then, of course, in turn, better operations to serve the community. So Jeannie and Byron and I had a number of conversations. The staff in those departments was involved also in conversations looking at the functionality of the two departments, the cross work of the departments, opportunities particularly for cross training between some of that staff, and then the opportunity to install one director over both departments to, in many ways, ease communications and ease consistent understanding of the two parts that are very closely tied. They can be separated, but can be very closely tied. So we spent a lot of time examining that and looking at that. I would share with you that I also reached out to a number of my peers and to some of my former now retired peers to seek their thoughts and advice on that, including a gentleman who would be the former Raleigh city manager, Ruffin Hall, who was also a budget manager in Charlotte, and then some other similarly sized agencies at us, to just say, you know, here's what I'm thinking, but what's your experience? How have you handled that? And consistently, the answer that I received was, it really matters what works best for your community and your municipality. So no sort of professional standard, it should be one or the other. It's really, how does it work best for a given town? And so in this case, in Morrisville, after all of that, I have elected and have support from Byron and Jeannie and the staff to consolidate the budget and the finance department into a financial services department. And so in the memo that you have, there is some justification for why that happens. I'm going to hit just some of the highlights of that. You have an opportunity to see that, and it's available to the public if they're more interested. But again, it's more cohesive budget and financial planning if they are working more closely together and with one manager or leader over the group. Certainly enhanced accountability across the different functionalities that are related. Builds in some development capacity, particularly in the context of succession planning. I'll show you on a future page what the new org chart will look like, and that will have Byron installed as the Chief Financial Officer. And Aaron, if you want to scroll down to that for me. It's going to be a couple pages down for the org chart. I'll work through some of the other content there. But what it'll establish is right, there we go, thank you. A financial operations manager, which will take on some of the former responsibilities of the finance director. The majority of those responsibilities will be with Byron as the financial services director or the chief financial officer. And then it also installs a budget operations manager. So that FTE is the FTE that was formerly the finance director. So I'm reclassifying that as the budget operations manager to give Byron sort of two number twos within the department, both of whom will have opportunities for cross-training and gives us an opportunity to develop our next chief financial officer, hopefully far off into the distance. That Byron will be here for a while, but again, we've got a very good person in our financial operations manager position in Casey Langley, and we will be advertising for a budget operations manager. So that gives us really a triumvirate, if you will, of what will be very skilled financial staff, budget staff, and leaders within that department. That will also give us some of that redundancy as well, so that if you use the hit by the bus theory, you have someone ready to step in if Byron couldn't or wouldn't be here tomorrow or next week or next month or in 5 years. Beyond that, the other positions basically are maintained as they are in the current organization. They're just merged into that department. You had already, during this current fiscal year, approved a second budget analyst. So what was one budget analyst is now a separation. Dawn Rabb has moved into the capital budget analyst role because of the amount of capital projects and capital work that we do. There is workload for a person to keep up with that and to keep up with the CIP. And then there will be an operations budget analyst that I think we're making an offer on here shortly. And then the other direct report to Byron would be the financial systems manager. That's April Dara, who does a lot with the ERP system and then takes on some other sort of secondary roles within the department. That would then leave you your accounting technician and the payroll administrator, along with the purchasing and contracts officer from what was the finance side, and then your 2 analysts. So that would be the same 9 positions that you've had before. Aaron, if you'll scroll back up a bit. Making this change does provide some savings to the town. So what was a salary for a finance director, we save approximately $35,000 by instead hiring a budget operations manager. And then we will spend a little bit of that savings to accommodate Byron in his new position as the Chief Financial Officer. There'll be an increase there based on the additional responsibilities. Also an increase to Casey's position based on some additional responsibilities, both from leadership and also in some of the auditing areas and some supervision responsibilities that she didn't previously had. And then again, we'll add a budget operations manager at approximately $100,000. So when that is all said and done, we do have savings for the year that would amount to approximately $15,000. So after that, what I would be asking you to consider is the addition of a position as a mid-year add. Not my normal practice to ask for positions mid-year because I recognize that that sort of steps outside of the budget process. So not my intention to regularly do that. However, in this case, I am going to ask you to consider that. This is what I see as a unique opportunity. So with this consolidation certainly comes efficiencies and I think a more balanced workload in terms of the leadership and supervision of the department. But we have had a standing need in the finance department to add a position to balance their workload and their needs. So there is some data in this document that I would share with you that reflects the workload increase that finance has seen over the past probably 8 or 9 years when we really haven't added a position to the department, but we've grown significantly in staff and thus those responsibilities grow in the department. And we've also grown tremendously in CIP work, in budget work, and then also just in financial transactions, I believe to the tune of approximately 35% since the last time a position was added. That does not include the financial systems manager. That was a new add, I believe, in 2020, but that was very specific to our transition to the Tyler software and to the new ERP system to have a person that could manage that in-house versus relying on Tyler as a contractual service outside the department. So in the context of the core work of the department, that work has increased significantly, but we have not been able to previously provide additional resources there. There have been requests, but they have not previously risen to the priority where they could be included in a budget. So with the cost savings here of approximately $15,000, and then we also have some savings in the coming year because we have been budgeting approximately $20,000 in order to do some contractual assistance in some of our GASB or GASB updates for the department. We brought in some assistance for that. With this additional position, we would not need to do that. So that would be approximately $20,000 in savings. So we anticipate that the actual ask for FY26 would be approximately a $10,600 ask to be able to add an additional position. If that position were approved now, we would be able to accommodate what would be approximately a $15,000 need by the time we would hire that position for the remainder of the fiscal year, and that can be accounted for through the lapse vacancy money that exists in the finance department because that finance director position has not been filled. I'm going to stop there, and I'm happy to take any questions that you have.
Looking to see, looks like Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Johnson, please.
Thank you, Town Manager Zudema. That was a very comprehensive, well thought out ask.
Thank you.
And I think any member of the public should read it in its entirety because there is a great appreciation for the amount of work that our finance and budget teams do year in, year out. And we are getting more and more complicated with both regulations as well as volume of work. So I understand that. And I'm excited about the CFO position. It is warranted. I do agree with the concept of having somebody that is overseeing both sides of this discipline. It makes sense to me. One of the questions I do have is, you mentioned that we added with the ERP system a new person that's overseeing the financial systems, but did we hire somebody in the finance area related to the ARPA funds?
So the ARPA hire that was made was actually initially Michael James, who was brought in as an ARPA, I forget the exact title. It was essentially an ARPA position that was then, once the ARPA funding expired, was converted over to the budget director position. So he was in, what was that title?
It's a fiscal recovery officer.
Thank you.
He was in the budget department. He was not in the finance department.
So he was here for a period of time, and then unfortunately, I can't be so upset because we did kind of borrow him from Wake County before they borrowed him back. I won't use the word steal because that would be inappropriate, but we borrowed back and forth. But again, that gave us a fantastic opportunity to bring Byron into the town, and he has been fantastic since we brought him in, has really helped us in a lot of ways. So that position was a budget position, not an addition in the finance staff.
Okay, so, but it did grow, the budget staff then did grow with that ARPA boost, if you.
It did. And again, that is, we had a conversation, but that is part of a planned effort, because prior to that, you remember that Jeannie, who is, a member of our senior leadership team, was really essentially also our budget director, also managed CIP, also managed debt and investment, et cetera. So this has been, before me with Martha, a very distinct plan to make sure that we were adding staff, to acknowledge that Jeannie's not going anywhere soon, but she also won't be here forever. And we want to make sure that we are planning for that. And then again, it's also just been a really a need in terms of staff time to work on the budget, because quite honestly, prior to me, Martha and Jeannie did a lot of that. And that was, Martha's background and also her interest. And, I certainly play a direct role in that, but I don't get into some of the weeds now. I don't have to because of some of the staff that we have brought on. And again, adding this budget operations manager will really put us in a good position to be effectively managing that going forward.
Thank you for answering that completely, because I think that kind of sets the stage and helps everybody understand more of the ask, if you will.
Thank you.
Just going back to ARPA for a minute, ARPA was some federal funds that the town was awarded, and we had to spend them by the end of 2024.
That is correct.
So how much of that work is carried forward into 2025? Like, we have to spend it, but yet I'm sure there's some wrap-up activities that are associated with that.
There is some wrap-up being conducted. So we have committed all of the funding that we were presented with, ballpark $9 million. We did not turn a penny back to the federal government. I think that you, of course, included in that through budget and other projects, made very good use of that money in a variety of ways. We use some of that to cover lost revenue, particularly in the Parks and Rec Department, but we've also had some opportunity to do some very specific projects with that. And again, we also used it in some cases on some shorter term staff. Michael's position that has now turned into Byron, that has been adopted as a town-funded position. So we are doing some cleanup on that. Some final reporting is due over the next quarter or two, but those funds are allocated.
Very good. So I'm glad to hear that we were able to not give any money back, that we actually maximize the value of that award. So that's really good news.
And if I may, sorry to interrupt. I think it's worth noting that there was very, very diligent work done by Jeannie, by Byron, by Dawn, and by others in the finance department to make sure that we did that, because this wasn't a here's $9 million, let us know when you're done. Very strenuous and specific reporting requirements, very specific about what you could and couldn't use it for. So our staff did an excellent job in making sure that we were 100% in compliance with that. Thank you.
Well earned. So my thoughts about a mid-year ad that's above the budget director backfill makes a lot of sense.
Thank you.
We are entering our favorite season, favorite part of the year, budget season. So that makes a lot of sense. What I'm having a little bit of concern about is adding the additional analyst mid-year. I'd like to think about that in fiscal year 2026. It's just a few months away, but that would allow that, regular cadence, if you will, and we can look at all the positions that we're going to need as a whole. This is a very compelling case. I'm sure this is, the top of the considerations kind of thing, but I just wanted to hear more information about other positions. So that's where I am today. I might be, in a few minutes, singing a different tune, but I appreciate all your work and the entire team's work.
No, and thank you for that. And if Mayor's okay if I offer just a short response to that, I fully appreciate, again, I think mentioned that when I started, not intending to bypass the budget process. I only asked this year because I think it is a unique opportunity from a timing standpoint. I think it's also a unique opportunity because of some of the savings we're seeing, that it's not a full ask in terms of needing what the full budget would be. Even in the next year, with the resources that are already in the base budget for FTEs, it would be about a $10,000 ask. The other reason I ask now is it gives Byron an opportunity to really shape this new financial services department with all the assets he needs and would want going forward. So this should solidify financial services for the foreseeable future. Now, I may talk to you in 3 or 4 years, but for the foreseeable future, this would solidify that department, and then we would have that done, and he would be able to sort of kick off with knowing the resources he has and begin immediately establishing new work responsibilities, workloads. Also allows for some immediate cross-training to give a little bit more relief. We do know that we have a retirement coming up in that department, likely in the fall. So it gets us some of that cross-training ahead so we don't have a gap there as well. I think that's a small piece of the puzzle. So that's the reason that I asked now rather than as part of the budget, but I certainly appreciate your question and concern.
Very, very well positioned, and I appreciate all the work that has gone into this
Thank you.
request. Thank you.
Just as a reminder, this item is scheduled for vote on February 25th.
Correct.
So-
Tonight is a brief, so don't want to brief an action to you in the same night. So wanted the opportunity to discuss it with you tonight. If by any chance there's anything we would need to bring back, certainly could do that. But the intention is to ask for action on the 25th. Thank you for that clarification, Mayor.
Councilmember Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rao, please.
So I'm going to repeat a little bit about, I think at the last, when we were here, we did a recap of the retreat. So I said that in a public meeting. I'm going to repeat it again. And I think I've told you one-on-one too, Brandon. I am fully in support of merging the two departments, and I have great faith in Byron. So I am pleased about all this. I think I'm even pleased about an ask for an additional personnel, additional staff. I understand the need. You've spelled it out clearly. I guess I too am going to sing the same tune. I think I too am having a little heartburn of doing this out of the full budget process. I'd prefer we do that. We're going to start budget conversations next month. So I would prefer to do this in a more holistic approach and look at all the asks that are out there and have you too kind of evaluate all those asks and compare them to each other. So that is probably my only concern right now, and I appreciate the opportunity to hear this all again, because we did hear it at retreat, and the opportunity to vote on it later this month. But I too, I think, would prefer. I'm never a fan, and we've had this conversation. Never a fan of doing things mid-year, mid-budget year. 100% have done them, 100%. And there were some real important, compelling, and strong, really strong needs to do something mid-budget year, and even pretty significant needs, where this one is maybe, from a financial standpoint, not as big, as heavy a lift. But anyhow, just I would echo that kind of concern, doing it outside of the budget.
Thank you. Councilmember Rao, followed by Councilmember Rabadi, please.
Yeah, I just want to thank, I'm fully in support of this. The finance department has been very helpful just since I've been on the council, but just the last few years, seen really improvements in just how you are presenting the information. The last few retreats have been really, really helpful, and I'm fully supportive. So thank you so much, and looking forward to another great year.
Councilmember Rabadi, please.
So I fully understand concerns about doing this out of cycle. The only thing I would say is that, first of all, my sense is that we're starting the budget conversation again in a couple not a couple weeks, right? A couple months.
Month.
Okay. All right. And my sense is that this would be one of the key positions that would bubble to the top. So I don't necessarily need to wait for a budget cycle to tell me something that I already know, which is that this ask will figure prominently as you build the new department, because I know that that's a big priority for you. So I don't necessarily have any problem with a mid-year ad for that reason. Can you just explain to the $45,800? Is that a yearly salary?
Yes,
So this is an entry-level person.
correct.
Okay, so one thing I will say is that having built teams with entry-level people, I've always found that if you can have them there for the real crunch times of the work, I think that provides a learning experience for them, of course, but also contributes to a team culture and a team sense of focus that is very valuable and is very hard, frankly, to build at other times, So I would just be in favor, honestly, of adding this person so that with the new department, they can go through the budget process and all the finance things that have to happen during the budget process. And I just think that will come out of that with a more valuable employee that won't have to wait the year to go through that with the team. And so that's the only thing that I haven't heard brought up yet that I think is worth noting. I do think there's some value in that process, just because the entire organization is changing, and I've never had a lot of success with bringing somebody in right after a major org change, So, that's just, that might be personal preference, but to me, I think the proper time to add the person, just because we're so close to budget time, would be now. The only thing is, that was a lot of numbers really fast that you just kind of threw out there. So when we say that the FY26 budget increase to fund the accounting generalist is $10,661, that's a delta from the department now, based on the fact that we're saving that we're saving money that we're not using on a consultant. But going forward, after FY26, the operational budget for this person would not be offset by that, by not using the consultant, or would it?
No, it would.
Okay.
It would. So, and just for clarification on your point, it is the savings from reducing or reclassifying the finance director to the budget operations manager. So
Okay.
that's a savings about $35,000. We then spend a small portion of that in increasing or reclassifying the chief financial officer
Yes,
and the
we should.
financial operations manager.
Right.
So that leaves us with savings. And then when you add the $20,000 to that, that's when you result with a $10,000 impact to the FY26 budget to bring that position to whole, if you will. So the department would need an extra $10,000 than what they already have budgeted, and that would be consistent going forward. That would continue, because we would not return to ask for the $20,000 for that consultant in the future. That would be done, and the department
Okay,
would have
and we
that money
would never
moving
need
forward
the consultant again.
in the foreseeable future. I hate to
Right,
say
okay.
never, but based on where we are now and the work they're asked to do, they would not need that person for the work that's been previously done.
Okay. All right, then I would say that I'm in favor of what you've proposed as you've proposed it. Not crazy about this news that Jeannie's not going to be here forever. I hope you're doing something about that, because nobody okayed that.
Yeah, I think that's probably more a Ricky than a Brandon question, to be honest.
Just saying. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, does anyone else want to share their thoughts at this time? Otherwise, we'll be hearing this back in 2 weeks. Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, please.
Brandon, very good read. I really liked it. A couple of things that come to my mind, because coming from a corporate background, consolidation of two departments is in one way for the good, because you're creating efficiency and you're also creating, basically transparency, that you are internally, looking into how you can basically add more productivity along with that. And because that's what we do, but where I'm having a hard time is, have we looked holistically at all the other departments if there is any efficiency that could be used? Not trying to say, cut anyone, but basically say, okay, if we do these, there's an extra resource that we could use somewhere else. You know what I mean? So that way, have we done an exercise so that, because technology has changed, it has become more easy. And I also wanted to ask that Taylor, we are getting the in-house. So are we still having the contract with Taylor? Or is that money savings that is coming? Because I didn't see anything that talks about it.
So we still have a contract with Tyler, which we're required to have, because they're always doing updates and other things that continue to make the software serviceable. I'll give you to your initial question. Yes, we are always looking at the departments and how that work is being done and how that can be more efficient. I can give you two examples of that we've done recently. One is, if you look at the inspections department, the inspections, planning, and engineering departments had collaboratively asked for a position that would manage the EnerGov system. It has a new name now that I can't keep up with, but the EnerGov system that is all of our online permitting and development services work. So they had asked for 2 consecutive years for a position to manage that software and the work that needs to be done with it, and for us to be able to do our own creation of reports and things like that, rather than relying on Tyler, because it would be more efficient. So in going into that last year, what Shandy Paget, our inspections director, did was took a hard look at her workload, what her inspectors were doing, what the work was expected to come, and she came to the realization that she could afford to release one of her inspector positions, and so we reclassified that into that ERP or EnerGov position that serves all 3 departments, and there was no ask of the budget. So that was, again, a very innovative approach, and Shandy was willing to not say, I want to build my kingdom, but instead say, how can we do this the best for everybody? And so she ended up losing an inspector position, still continues to do the work needed, but now supports 3 departments and really 4 if you count the fire department with the fire marshal's office and the inspections that they do. I think another recent example of that is in the police department. So Chief Acosta looked at what was happening with crimes and what was happening with other things related to public concerns, and so he created the impact team. But we only asked for 1 position to create a 4-person impact team. So you had created a drug investigator position that was authorized in the budget, and then he converted a sworn position to a civilian, the quartermaster position, to free up a sworn position, and then he made use of other existing positions within the department, the canines, to create that team. So we now have a 4-person full-time impact team that is addressing crimes and quality of life issues in neighborhoods, and it only asked for 1 position to do that. So I think the answer to that is absolutely. We're routinely looking at how the departments are staffed and what their workload is, and we'll continue to look at that going forward, particularly as we continue to delve more into data and how those measures demonstrate outcomes as well.
Thanks for that explanation, because for the sake of transparency, when we do an ask, we want to see internally what can be done. And
Absolutely.
especially when you're merging 2, is like the math is, okay, 9, but we're adding 1 more. So the optics is not like, really helping that way too.
No, fully understand it, and we've had that discussion that, the efficiency is there, but it also is balancing against what was the existing workload and making sure particularly that the 3 managers, the 3 leaders in that new organization, that new department, are able to do what they should be doing and not be doing some of the day-to-day things that have to be done by someone, but this gives us an opportunity for greater efficiencies there, greater focus on leadership and mentoring within the department, and then also the cross-training.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to thank Councilmember Rabadi for her take on it. I think that's really important to have people working together through interesting times. So I think I'm looking forward to supporting that in 2 weeks. So I think we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, please.
My 2 cents for what it's worth. In the grand scheme of things, this is a big picture approach for me. It's not just looking solely at that accounting generalist position. As Brandon mentioned, it's looking at setting the stage for that success for tomorrow, for what the team needs right now, which is balanced workload. They need us to deepen the bench in the places that need it most. And this opportunity with money that they already have allocated to their department, and the finance department, is reinvesting it in them to be successful in a combined structure. And it's putting people where the work is happening and actually giving the opportunity for growth and sustainability of that combined department structure in the future. I support this and advocate for it strongly as a person who's been here for a while and seen it actually be broken apart, and now recommending it back together. And I think this is a good step for Morrisville and for the team to be successful today and into the future. And what I would say to it simply is, to me, taking an existing high-level position, and we're asking you to split it into 2 positions. That's as simple as it is for me, and reinvesting in a combined department.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else, Town Manager?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, excellent. We're at item 12 now, future meetings, events, and resident involvement opportunities. For a full listing of events, please see the town calendar at www.morrisvillenc.gov. You can refer to the website for all the current information. We're now at council comments. Councilmember Rabadi will share first and will be followed by Councilmember Fender, please.
Thank you, Mayor. No comments.
Councilmember Fender, followed by Councilmember Rao.
No comment.
Councilmember Rao, followed by Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Just a couple of comments. I just want to wish everyone a happy Black History Month. And one of the things I'd like to bring up to the council and staff is hoping that we can do more events celebrating our Shiloh community and different things in Morrisville. So just a thought there. I enjoyed Rush Hour Karting Super Bowl party. I would encourage anybody to get out to Rush Hour Karting. They have a 50-foot screen, $250,000, sponsored by Mountain Dew. It's literally like you're watching the games right there. Mayor was there as well. Amazing. And then real quickly on the tech side, there were some really great events this last week. Riot had their State of the Region talk. Really great organization if you're in technology, especially smart cities. Tide Carolinas had their business summit. Commerce Secretary Lee Lilly was here, which was great. And there's an AI conference in March, All Things Open, and it's on March 17th. And it's going to be about AI, but Mark Hinkle, the founder of it, is offering free training on how to use AI. So I'll put that out there for everybody. And the federal cuts are really hurting our Central Pine Regional Council. It used to be Triangle J. So just keeping up with that in terms of just affecting really good programs that are helping local governments. It's quite concerning, but we'll keep you appraised of that. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Mayor Pro Tem Garamella.
No comments, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamella, followed by myself.
No comments.
I just want to say to everyone, happy Valentine's Day this week. Town Manager Zudema, do you have any comments?
Oh, wait a minute.
Oh, Liz
I'm
is
sorry.
there.
I'm not sure how I missed you, Councilmember Johnson. My apologies.
That's fine. That's fine.
Thank you.
Oh, but don't worry. I was going to make sure I get my
The staple is in
my
the wrong
word in
place.
there. And I have one comment. Actually, I have a request, and I'm going to ask for council support. I know we have a deadline tomorrow to turn in our roundtable items, and I'm not going to make it. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I'm going to ask this one. The due date is more than 2 weeks out from the actual meeting, and that's not typical. Usually, the due dates are sometimes less than a week or a week out. So I'm going to ask that we please revisit that date and kind of keep it consistent moving forward. That would help me. And I will tell you, I have some roundtable items, but I will not get them in tomorrow. So I'm going to ask us to, I don't know, and maybe that should be my third roundtable. Can we review the policy on the roundtables? Because do we specify in there the actual date that we're gonna, is it a week prior? What, and that's probably not fair because we haven't reviewed the policy.
So what we have done in the past, you are correct, is we have done it the week before. What that has done is created a little bit of a tight timeline to be able to get those items and agenda packet out to you all. So as we are trying to manage our agenda packets to be able to get them to you all on time, then we have had to back up some of those dates to allow us to be able to enter the items in the software, allow for proper review and distribution to you all. So what we are doing is trying to follow similar timelines that we use for our regular meetings.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you that's probably not going to work for us. And I'm telling you right now, that's not working for me this time. So my ask is that we shorten that. I think right now it's like a 15-day window that you're asking, and I'd like that shortened. Thank you.
Thank you. And what we can do at this time is we could, if it's helpful to you all, I could extend that to the end of the week. Right now I have it up to Wednesday, and I could extend that through Friday. Or even, let's do this. If it's okay with you all, let's extend it until the following Monday. So it gives you through the weekend to be able to complete that item. Would that be helpful to you?
That would be very helpful.
Okay, we can certainly do that.
Okay, Councilmember Rao, something to add?
I forgot in my comments, but I wanted to congratulate Deputy Manager Giselle Rodriguez for getting
I'm not done with my
honored by the
comments.
So,
Managers Association. I was so proud of her and how well she's done here. So on behalf of all of us,
Well-
all of us.
so I'd like to
Stole
let
the thunder.
Councilmember Johnson
I'm so sorry.
to finish her thoughts.
So I was going to say, I'm done, and I'm not going to thank anybody for anything because I don't want to steal the town manager's thunder, so we can turn it to him.
Okay, once again, I apologize for skipping over you.
Sorry.
Like I said, I messed up. Town Manager Zudema.
Several items, Mayor. Thank you. First and foremost, I will follow Councilmember Rao and tell you how extremely proud I am to share with you that sitting next to me is this year's North Carolina City County Management Association Deputy/Assistant Manager of the Year for 2024. So I have told you before, I think what I know and think about Giselle as a person and as a professional and what her skill set is. And so I want to put a little context to this, that the people eligible for this are both city and county assistant or deputy managers. There are 100 counties in North Carolina. There are more than 400 municipalities. So we're talking, in some places have 2 or 3 assistants. So we're easily at 750 or 800 people that would be eligible for this. And she's at the top of that list, and it was a unanimous selection. And so, again, just want you to be aware of the superstar that we have on this staff. And she would never say that. She would never acknowledge that, which is another reason why she's deserving of this award. But we were able to take some staff with us. Her direct reports came down to Winston-Salem. We surprised her. She did not know that was happening until people started sitting at the table, and she got a little curious. So she got to be recognized in front of hundreds of her peers from the association. And again, I'm just extremely proud of Giselle and her accomplishments.
Congratulations. Now I'll say congratulations.
So the next item, Mayor, I communicated this in your Friday next council week in Morrisville email, reference to the MESC, the Morrisville Environmental and Stormwater Committee. So Giselle's going to help me with sharing some information with you. So we currently have 4 vacancies on that committee. We have 1 member who resigned recently at their early February meeting. We had 1 member who was dismissed back in November for lack of attendance, and we had 2 additional members that were dismissed in February for lack of attendance. So as you will recall, we recently amended the policy that guides this to say that you could call for a mid-year opportunity for a recruitment cycle that would be specific to MESC. So what I shared with you is that I think you have 3 options on how to address this. Option 1 would be that you have 2 candidates currently that had applied that have not been appointed and are eligible. So you could appoint those 2 candidates, fill 2 of the 4, and then let the committee run and fill the other 2 as a part of the next regular recruitment that would begin in April and end up with an appointment in July. Or option 2 is you could direct us to open a special recruitment for MESC. That would be a shortened 1-month recruitment cycle. And I'll talk timelines with you on this piece of paper in just a second. And that would let Bianca coordinate with Aaron's support a recruitment just for MESC. And that would result in an appointment that would make them eligible to be on a committee by May. So that would save you 2, almost 3 months. Your third option would be do nothing and allow the committee to carry 4 vacancies until the summer appointment. I highly recommend against that. That really starts to impact issues towards quorum and attendance and other things. So the form that I've shared with you, if you look at on the front, the piece that's vertical and has the color, what that is showing you is that would be our abbreviated recruitment cycle. So if you were to give us that direction tonight, we could launch a recruitment by next week. Bianca is at clerk school this week, so we would need her to be involved when she returned. But we could launch a recruitment only for MESC. We would start that next week. That recruitment would run just until the 21st of March. And then you would ultimately get your information and ballots so that you would do an appointment by resolution on the 13th of May. So those 2 candidates would then be able to attend the June meeting. Excuse me, the 4. If you filled the 4 seats, you would have 4 candidates that could fill a June meeting. And then on the back of that is the non-colored horizontal slide that shows you what it would look like if we followed our normal recruitment cycle. That would normally open in April. It would go until June. We do about 6 weeks, more than that, almost 8 weeks of recruitment. And then that would ultimately be an appointment on the 22nd of July. So those members would be appointed and would be able to attend an August meeting. So a special recruitment cycle would save about 2 months on the appointment cycle. Happy to answer any questions between myself and Aaron. I'm sure can help me as well. Was it you or Ann?
I'd like to recognize Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, followed by Councilmember Rabati.
Thank you so much for putting this together. Just so that I'm clear, how many positions are open now, or vacancies? There's 4 vacancies. And I think that's important for everybody to keep in mind is that the quorum for the MESC committee is
6.
6, and we have how many people?
So it's 6 if there's 11 members. Right now,
Right.
with it reduced to 7 members, it would be a quorum of 4. So the
Okay.
quorum does reduce based on the number of active committee members. I think you then get into a question of, do you really want 4 members making a decision for an 11-person committee, or what should be an 11-person committee, would be my concern.
Thank you for that, because I think that's an important point for everyone, including the public, to understand is that there are 4 vacancies, and typically on a recruitment cycle, you have 2 positions at most. So having 4 is a fairly unusual kind of circumstance. And this committee also does the recycling contest, does it not?
Correct.
And that contest is held in the fall. And there's a lot of outreach to schools and a lot of work done by the actual committee members in addition to staff. And so to wait to have a recruitment and assignment until June, to me, is not appropriate. I think that there's so much good work they could be doing with more members earlier. With that said, I'm in favor of appointing the 2 applicants as soon as possible tonight to get that committee to a more healthier state. The 2 open positions should go in the normal recruitment cycle so that all the applicants can consider the MESC as a committee. And there's 2 positions, so that would allow for anybody that might have applied for a different one to change their preference to the MESC committee. So those are my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilmember Rabati, followed by Councilmember Johnson, please.
Do we know if the committee has a preference?
No.
Okay.
I could make an assumption, but no, I don't know if the committee has a preference.
Okay, in that case, I'm with Vicki.
Thank you.
Councilmember Johnson.
So I'm going to come up with a different idea, so sorry. I think we should do a special recruitment period and get a good group of folks to choose from. That would be my preference.
Okay.
Councilmember Fender, please.
I agree with Councilmember Johnson. I think I'd prefer to open it up and get a group of potential appointees to look at.
Okay, thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamilla.
No, I think I agree because the 2 people who are not selected, we don't know who it is. And right now in front of us to even review that. And also this is a good time to give opportunities for others to also come in. So as quickly as you can. I don't know if you want to keep it 1 month, but if you want to keep 2 weeks and cut short that, it's for the sake of transparency, yes, we are doing it, but there is nothing, because of this off cycle, you can cut down that time frame too.
Correct. Yeah, that's our intention. So you support a special recruitment.
Yes. So that's
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd say as soon as possible, and it sounds like might be the consensus of the group to do a special recruitment. I'm not sure if you can abbreviate it any more than option 1 or not. This looks like,
We can discuss that. I think Aaron has put together, a recommendation of what it would look like, because we do want to be fair and make sure that we get it out there and advertise, but we can certainly have a conversation about expediting it as much as practical without giving up the value.
I think that would be a balance. Everyone's had a chance, so I'll circle back to Councilmember Johnson.
I would agree with that. If you
Okay.
can make it without compromising the integrity of the process, make it as short as you can make a special process.
Okay?
Okay, so it sounds like option 1, just a little quicker if possible. Is that what you're hearing?
Understand. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what we need.
You got head nods from everybody? Yep. Okay, that's great. Did you have any?
I have one, we have one additional item. I'm going to turn it to Giselle.
Many of you may be aware that there is a potential for Aviation Parkway project U5811, which is a project of DOT. Is proposed in the STIP to be delayed once again. It's coming before the executive board to be looked at in the month of April. Yes, Campo Executive Board in the month of April. And that is as a result of the last meeting, having staff and the representatives at the Campo Executive Board, Mayor Colley is a representative in that executive board, making a motion to remove that item from the agenda so that the parties can further evaluate it before it comes back before the board. We have gone through the process of evaluating internally, and our planning, engineering, police, public works, and IT departments have come together to collectively put together like a white paper with enough data to be able to justify the importance of the project and continue to advocate for the project to not be delayed any further, even if that takes splitting the project in some phases. We are currently finalizing that white paper, talking with other partner agencies as well, so that we can finalize it and then provide it to you as well. The intention is that all of you will have the white paper so that you have enough data that you can also advocate for that as others, as needed, as we go through this advocacy and lobbying process to try to keep the project in the fastest timeline as we could, given the challenges that there are. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that we are working on that and that we will be providing that to you, and we can give you more specific as to who are the individuals that we can reach out to kind of make sure that our voices are heard, and how can we involve the community as well to make sure that we are collectively coming together to advocate for the project to remain in the track that it was. So that's all I have for you. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Once you have the white paper, we'll be also happy to address any questions that you may have and explore next steps.
Councilmember Johnson, please.
So Giselle, what time frame are we talking about now? Do you have a?
Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong, they're pushing out to 2030? Construction to 2030.
Okay, all right, okay, I thought we have talked about that number or that date before. I thought you maybe were referring even past that, but I have no faith that date's gonna hold, so, okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Anything else, Town Manager?
No, sir.
Okay. We are now going to take a break for 15 minutes. If that's the will of the council, because we are moving pretty quickly. So why don't we reconvene it? Why don't we keep it to about 15 then? Let's come back at 7:19, please.
No?
I wasn't
Okay,
thinking.
okay, okay.
I thought you were done.
No, I wasn't done.
We're entering into our work session. We invite Town Manager Zudema to the table to facilitate discussions on FY25 budget accomplishments and retreat follow-up. And we may want to time box this. We have 90 minutes allocated. Do we have any thoughts?
We will not need 90 minutes.
I believe you.
Yes.
What a great man.
Yes, so we're
What
gonna,
a great manager.
we will do this expeditiously without giving up the value of doing it. How's that? So thank you, Mayor, members of council. For this work session, Jeannie and I are going to tag team a little bit. I'll primarily cover the first session, and then she will pick up the second. The goals tonight, first of all, to review with you a little bit, but particularly, I think, for the community and our stakeholders and partners, the FY25 budget philosophy. And then we want to review some of the FY25 accomplishments. And we've already sort of alluded tonight to the idea that we're about to jump in with both feet within the next 4 to 6 weeks on FY26. So before we do that, I thought it would be appropriate for us to share and even celebrate a little bit of what we collaboratively have accomplished with and for the community in terms of what the FY25 budget was. And then from there, I will turn it over to Jeannie, and she will follow up on your score exercise from the retreat regarding the CIP refresh exercise, and then we'll very quickly talk about next budget steps. So getting into the presentation, again, as a reminder to you, but particularly to our audience, the current year budget philosophy was developed at last year's retreat in January of 24. And you identified a number of areas to focus on, 10 total, and those included economic and fiscal sustainability, particularly the town being an economic engine. Second would be future investments, particularly land, facilities, roads, and parks. Also technology innovation through smart cities and other programs that we sponsor and utilize. Certainly sustainability through our Public Works Department and our Sustainability Master Plan. Transportation, always a concern and an opportunity in our community, maximizing our multimodal approaches. Public safety and responsiveness to evolving needs. Operational impacts from capital investments. I think we've talked about that a lot over the last year or two in terms of recognizing that we want to make sure that we're prepared as we implement new capital projects, that we have the resources to support those, and we don't wait till the year after to ask what we might have needed when we opened the doors, and making sure that we're trying to keep up with that. Certainly talent investment, again, you have always been, and I expect will continue to be supportive of our staff. And after you gave me this opportunity, one of the first things I told our staff was that they were my first priority, because without them, we don't accomplish any of this work. And so we are a team, none of us more important than the other. We need all 239 of us working together along with our part-time staff to make things happen. Embracing transparency and access, certainly in today's day and age, making sure that we are transparent to the community, to other stakeholders, and then really meaningful connections. And I think that's important for us as we strive to maintain our small town feeling while we aren't necessarily a small town anymore. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the successes that you and our staff have seen in the past year in each of those areas. So I'll start with economic and fiscal sustainability. Again, at the top of that list is our AAA credit rating. You know, a lot of credit little pun intended, a lot of that credit goes to certainly to Jeannie, to Byron, to our financial staff, but also to you for your decision making and for your investments over the years that have kept us that AAA rating. Again, when we sold bonds this past fall, we were able to sell at 3.28% interest rate. And again, we had planned at 5%, so that's a significant difference of savings from what we anticipated. And again, that's because you plan well, you save well, and you follow a vision there. Establishment of the Economic Development Department. Key resources make a difference. I think I said that to you towards the end of Tiffany's presentation at the retreat, is look what we can do when we have a subject matter expert that can spend their time focused on economic development. So making a lot of headway there already, and a lot more to come from that. Sponsorship and facility naming rights policy was adopted. We actually had our meeting today with staff. We have interviewed 2 consultants who have applied to help us with sponsorship, and we expect to name someone for an agreement as soon as next week and have that moving forward. Obviously, our first priority would be the dog park sponsorship with that facility under construction, and then we would move to town center and other opportunities to see some revenue generated from things we already have in the community. Morrisville means business. Lots of opportunities and partnerships there, hosting training, networking, connecting small businesses to resources. Certainly Jeannie has been involved with that. Aaron has been involved with that. The chamber has been a part of that. And now Tiffany is stepping into that space. Talked to her today, and she had 73 applicants for the small business position, and she is struggling to narrow that down to who to even interview because it's such a quality group. So great news for us and great news for our small businesses. Working with partners. Our list of partners is long and exhaustive. Certainly Sing Development from the Town Center project. We've done a lot of work with Duke Energy in terms of ensuring the energy needs of this community today, tomorrow, and in the future. Always partnering with Campo. You heard that earlier from Giselle. Always opportunities there. Advocating for, really our future in the areas of infrastructure, transit. We had Wake County here, or Campo here a meeting ago, 2 weeks, not a week or a month, 2 weeks, talking about the Wake Transit Plan, transit-oriented development, and of course, I already mentioned the town center. We have a new partnership agreement with the chamber. The chamber has a new president, so we have a lot of opportunities there to continue to expand that partnership. And you all spent a significant amount of time working through Park West and a major modification for redevelopment there. And again, I applaud you for working through that process, and I think that has showed the community what we can do when we partner with those that already exist and that are coming to expand in Morrisville. When we move into future investments, again, this is a real key to the strength, I think, of the town. As a part of this year's budget, you did elevate your reserve investments, and that goes towards future infrastructure, future capital, future land acquisition. So you took additional pennies and said, we're going to save them for the future, which I think is very wise. We also created specifically the land CIP reserve, particularly now for future town center phases, but we have other opportunities with park expansion and other things in the future. You invested $20 million in bonds in future parks and street pedestrian improvements, always working to improve what we already have, while we also look to expand. You signed the town center development agreement. And again, if you think back to, I think it was 2020 when we talked about 18 months and we're going to knock that out. And then just slightly 4 years later, we had a development agreement. But again, a lot of work done by you, a lot of work done by staff, a lot of work done by our attorney's office to support that, and significant investment in that new core for Morrisville. Also working on district branding and wayfinding around a town center district, so it's not just that green, it's this larger area that includes Dog Park, Indian Creek, the retention basin, town hall, the library, all of these different resources that'll be part of that district. We cut a ribbon on the new playground at MCP. That was a great day. Lots of kids there to celebrate that. We have broken ground on Morrisville's first dog park just across the street. Lots of work being done there, and lots of work being done to preserve trees and make sure that that's as natural as we can make it. So I think you made a lot of good decisions and provided a lot of good input there. And then you've also supported a Church Street Park study so we can ultimately determine what the future is there, what are the opportunities with cricket and or with other sports and other activities at that facility. Councilmember Rabani, do you have a question?
I did have a question, actually. Would it be possible to go through and highlight or indicate in some other way which of these accomplishments were made possible by bond funds?
We can.
And then just send it electronically. Don't give me another copy. But,
sure.
Thank you.
Yep, we can do that after. No problem.
Thanks.
Moving into technology, Smart Morrisville Plan Refresh is currently underway. We are entering stakeholder engagement. One of those meetings is tomorrow night. I believe it starts at 6 o'clock here. There'll be some discussion of the website update and then a move into some stakeholder engagement by Rick and his team. The mobile app phase 3, there's now an upgrade out there. That's a great resource for our residents and others visiting and our businesses. Morris, our new AI city bot, is being integrated. It's in currently testing phase, and we anticipate a full rollout in 2025. Again, that's also related to our website upgrade, which we think the community will find to be much easier to use, much more intuitive, and much more focused on the content that we want to make sure the people of our community know that we have, and let them perhaps struggle just a little less with finding some of that good information that's there. We're also working on generative AI. Have been waiting for Microsoft to release Copilot. As soon as that comes out, we'll be testing that, and then that'll also be a valuable asset to our staff to begin to use, I should say, probably intelligently use artificial intelligence. So it's intelligent if you use it well. It may not always be. Councilmember Fender and then Councilmember Gramhouse. So the government version has not been released. Yep, we are waiting by the phone literally for that to happen. Mayor Pro Tem. Copilot associated, I believe, with Microsoft. That's a great question that Rick Ralph can answer for you that I don't know that I can right now. But we will come back with that as well.
We don't want you to answer.
But thank you for the stumper.
Well, it does say generative AI. Is it like search capability on the website probably?
Search capabilities internally to our
Yeah.
resources.
For
we have
the
here.
resources, yeah.
And it's really to maximize us finding documents, accessing information quicker. Oh, thank you. It's really about researching, accessing information quicker within our own internal environment. So it's very specific to us for this first generative AI pilot program.
Searchability of documents.
But we'll add that to the FAQ, sorry.
Yep, nope, thank you. Also, security upgrades. Again, Rick and his team are constantly looking to make sure we are doing everything we can to secure our resources, to protect us from the thousands of people and bots and other things out there that would try to get in. So safeguarding us against that. He actually just sent me some additional security information to review today as we look at upgrading our policies. You all know, but again, we're celebrating the CIO 100 Award. And, that is an award that is typically reserved for larger corporations. For a municipal government our size to be recognized with that is borderline phenomenal and really reflects the work of that team. And then we hosted our first hackathon pilot, and we have awarded a winner there. And so, again, that outreach to the community and really looking to engage will certainly continue through smart cities and other opportunities. If we move to sustainability, a lot going on with sustainability. At Fire Station 3, we had a beehive celebration, so we have 2 beehives there. We'll remind you that before they came to the fire station, they went to the state fair and won first prize in their category as beehives, and now they are there. And if you can see the picture there, one of those has got butterflies and other things on it, and then one looks like a fire station, apropos, given it is in the backyard of our new fire station on Harris Mill Road. Certainly welcome to have people come by and take a look at that. We have increased our native plantings around town, and that will continue to grow over time. We have purchased our first EV mowers, and we continue to expand our EV stations. We have those now at Town Hall. We have them at the PSMS. We have that in MAFC, and we're adding them in other facilities around the town. We also have installed compostable bins around town so people can make use of those to compost. If you step outside from this building, you will see solar panels on the roof. So that solar project was complete. Again, a lot of hard work there by Jeffrey and Kimberly to pursue that through some challenges with the grant funding, but they got creative to make sure we maintained some Duke Energy grants by the way they did that. And then we will still be moving ultimately to the connector building and then to MAFC to add additional solar on more of our facilities. Sawmill Creek stream restoration and greenway is underway, and we have received, I believe it is now, where's Byron, 2 different $500,000 grants to support that. So again, kudos to Don Rabb and our grants team, and certainly to Ben Mills and his team for continuing to be proactive and looking for that. So that's a significant amount of money to receive to support that project. Creek Week will be coming up again in March, so we celebrate that each year. You can still sign up for the Stormwater 5K during Creek Week. Encourage you to do that. And then, of course, you heard at the retreat from Kimberly about the work that's being done to advance the Master Sustainability Plan, already ahead of many of the items and timelines that were established in that. So a lot of good work being done, not only by Kimberly, but her peers in Public Works, and also our town-wide Sustainability Committee, so that everybody has an investment in that. And Matt, lift your cup to the camera. We're doing that right here in the room with all of our council members having refillable water devices rather than water bottles as we did in the past.
I know.
So we won't, don't talk about that. So if we turn the page to transportation, again, always a focus area for our community, just like those around us. The Morrisville Carpenter Road project is complete. The traffic signals are installed. The Hawk device is installed to enhance pedestrian safety. Significant improvements there, both for transportation and for pedestrian and vehicular safety along that portion of the roadway. We are undergone with the Morrisville Parkway Access Study. Again, a partially grant-funded opportunity to look at how can we improve safety on Morrisville Parkway. Working on Iron Stirrup Creek Greenway feasibility study. That study was completed. It gives us some insights on how that might be constructed in the future as those are we able to make those investments. We have continued to discuss the MSD, the Municipal Service District for the Gables. We discussed that at the retreat, and staff will be coming back to you with a recommendation on how that could be funded now to complete that project, which would be the final project of the Municipal Service District. We also have an alternative transit system study kicking off. You've had the Smart Shuttle now for several years, so this is an opportunity to look at, is that still the best option for us? Should we look at other options? Should we look at a blending opportunity? You know, what's the best way to take advantage of not only our investment dollars, but also the dollars that we receive through Campo to support that program? So you will be having that kickoff coming to you in February, I believe. Again, we also have expanded the Smart Shuttle. We have shared information with you, and you have said make it better, and we have worked to make it better. So we have added a second shuttle on Saturdays that will address our primary area of need for wait times. And then a little later in the spring, we will also be adding a second shuttle on Sunday to better support that program and make it more available to our residents. I will quickly say I sent you all an email that gave you a little bit of an update. We had some challenges of late. Our staff, particularly Michelle and really Caleb, who I understand is doing days, nights, and weekends on the phone, following up with our partners with Carrie and also with VIA to address some issues and concerns there to make sure that we continue to provide quality and timely service. We also have expanded with some new nodes. We've added a node on Church Street. We added nodes out on McCrimmon Parkway, so we continue to look at opportunities to meet the needs there, and we've also continued to add some amenities to some of those shuttle stops. And then lastly, under transportation, sidewalk and intersection improvements, we continue to fill those critical segment gaps. You know, and I chuckle to myself sometimes because I think when people hear, oh, sidewalk gap, well, that's easy, just, you know, pour the sidewalk. 6 years ago, I would have said, well, just pour the sidewalk. That sounds easy with my old hat on. And now my new hat says, oh my gosh, the work that Mark and his team do to, you know, work through that and partner with DOT and look for funding options and deal with right-of-way. And I could go on, but a lot of work that gets done there that I think is much more difficult and complicated than the average reader might understand. But a lot of good work being done there. And again, that's also part of your commitment to funding those reserves to make that happen over time. Into public safety, again, no surprise that this continues to be a community, a staff, and a council priority. You have implemented the police impact team. I spoke briefly to that earlier. That's an opportunity to, again, look at current crime trends and also quality of life issues to be more proactive. We continue to improve fire staffing levels. You added 3 firefighters this year. They are about to graduate from the Fire Academy along with some other new hires, and that continues to bring us closer to making sure that every fire truck that pulls out of one of our stations has 4 firefighters on it for enhanced response and really for firefighter safety. So we'll continue to work on that over time. And just when you thought it couldn't get better, our ISO Class 1 score actually improved from, I think, 91 to 99. So not a lot of improvement left to go, but amazing at the work they continue to do, not only in fire suppression, but in fire prevention and in inspections and in community risk reduction and public education. Just a ton of work being accomplished by the fire department. We have certainly, through your funding, added fire and police tools that lets them do the work more safely. We could talk about air packs. We could talk about equipment for the police department, body armor, all those things that are helping them be best prepared for the dangers that they face on a regular basis. You helped us with a records management system upgrade, a much needed upgrade that better positions the department and the town for the future to be able to control and utilize those records effectively. We have continued to enhance the body-worn and in-car cameras for the police department. Again, thank you to Congresswoman Deborah Ross for that funding that supported that and for the funding that's provided in our budget on a recurring basis. Fire apparatus replacement, that's always planned for. So you this year authorized the replacement of Rescue 21. So the heavy rescue truck has been ordered. Unfortunately, we'd love to see that here, today, tomorrow, next month, but it will be 900 days from date of order to
Yikes.
delivery. 900 days. Correct. So that's where the market is. That's where the industry is. So the good news is that you continue to put money away for pay-as-you-go for fire apparatus. The downside is that we wait 900 days to get it. But we continue to utilize the resources they have, and they do a lot of work internally to keep that equipment on the road and functional and performing to its best abilities. And then lastly, improving fire data analytics and resource planning. The fire department is hiring now for a planning battalion sheet that you approved in this year's budget that gives them a tremendous resource to look at heat maps and mapping and response times and pre-planning and all those things that they've previously done by a whole bunch of people putting their hands in and trying to help the best they can. But now we're going to give them a resource that's what they're good at. That's their specialty. So that will only continue to enhance the work the fire department does in terms of, again, mapping, response times, planning, and all those things. So thank you again for that support on behalf of the fire department. If you look at general operating impacts on the next page, we continue to offer expanded parks programming. Mary Fawcett, our director, Cindy King, our assistant director, continue to evaluate what we're doing. How can we add to it? How can we do it differently? How can we do it better? Again, very, very pleased to share again with the public that we have renewed our solid waste contract, and it was less money than we paid in the prior contract. That's not a blip in the screen for those of you at home, less money. So that's a fantastic opportunity for what we thought could have been very impactful. So again, thank you to Jeffrey and our Public Works team for working through that to secure that. And then I think related to that, again, worth mentioning that you all had a discussion in regards to a solid waste fee. And based on, I think, community feedback and what you've heard, that will not be considered this year. So that has been tabled. So we will continue to have the solid waste fee incorporated within property taxes and the existing budget. Also, if you look here, expansion of streets and grounds maintenance resources to address both new facility additions and also overall aesthetics. So this is, I referenced this earlier, where I think we've been doing a better job of planning ahead for new things when they come on. But the positions you added this year were, in all candor, a little bit of catch-up to make sure that we had adequate resources to do a lot of the work we were already doing, to look at facilities that we'd already added, fire stations and new parks and things like that. So adding those resources to make sure that we're maintaining them to a level that I think you expect, and particularly our community expects to find in Morrisville. Vehicle needs, replacement planning. Again, our staff has tried to be as creative as they know how to be in terms of fleet and in terms of hunting down vehicles, in some cases literally to supply our police officers with vehicles. But we have moved to EV vehicles. We are looking at also hybrid vehicles. We have moved to hybrid. We are looking at EV vehicles. And we're also using some of the EV, I mentioned mowers and other things in the Public Works Department. And then really using smart technology to improve efficiencies all across the town, not just in our fleet, not just in public works, but in our parks and in other areas as well. So really trying to make sure that we are enhancing our operations for that quality of life that's so important. Just a few more here. Investing in our most valuable resource, our staff. Again, appreciate what you continue to do in that, and I can tell you that I think our staff would unanimously tell you that they appreciate that. They feel that they're appreciated here. They feel that they're treated fairly, and they really enjoy working for the town of Morrisville. So during this year, you voted and ensured that a living wage would be paid. So we have met the Wake County living wage. We have no employees working full-time or in a three-quarter capacity that would be under what would be a living wage. Each year, as you know, we continue to do pay in class to make sure that our positions, not necessarily individuals, but our positions are at market, so that we are competitive in terms of pay and benefits. So we saw a really good opportunity in this current year. We were able to address some needs in public works and parks. And then the next study is already underway. This year we look at the police department, communications, inspections, all for making sure that they are, again, at market and being compensated as they should be fairly. We continue to work on our new leadership academy, working towards rolling out small pieces of that as we build the larger academy, and that'll be opportunities for our staff and perhaps even council. We started a little bit of that conversation to make some training available to you, to continue to build our staff up, to plan for succession planning, plan for career development and personal development amongst our staff. The fire department is sort of a step ahead on that. They had 3 individuals in the department that got together with the blessing of the chief and developed a fire officer development program, very impressive program that they're now using for succession planning to be able to move the fire department forward. Again, you've been supportive of adding positions to meet both current and future programmatic and operational needs, not adding people because we want to, but adding people because we want to make sure that we provide quality services. And then lastly, just in terms of employee appreciation and recognition, we developed our Mission Champions approach this time. So again, on the back wall, you see our values are up there. We talk a lot about our mission, our vision, but particularly our values with our staff and what those values mean to us. So we transition our employee awards this year to where peers nominated peers in those areas. What did someone do that represented one or more of those values to be recognized? And I didn't do that. Jeannie didn't do that. Our staff nominated each other, and I think we recognized more than 30 out of 239 staff were recognized as mission champions for going, not just doing good work, but really going above and beyond. So I think that was meaningful for them, and I think really speaks to our team and the strength of our team. As we wrap up here, transparency and access. So we are currently working on strategic plan updates. Aaron is working with the departments, and Nate Lazinski in his new role is supporting that work. And we're aligning our department strategic plans with the town strategic plan. Aaron will be back to you in the coming weeks to have kickoff conversations with you. We're also doing community outreach as we update the town's strategic plan. Again, the language access plan is well into implementation. Our fellow Anu from UNC has been doing an amazing job of outreach and communication and sharing information with our communications department. The budget portal is open now. We certainly encourage members of the community to please jump onto the website and share your priorities, because council wants to hear those, and staff, of course, wants to know what those are. So this is the first version of the budget portal. There will be additional opportunities as we start to talk more specifically about what new opportunities might be, but we encourage people to jump on there now. I think that's open until the end of February to look at how we prioritize among our different goals within the strategic plan.
It's up to 60 now.
60 submissions. So would love to see that
Nice.
double or triple, but it's a start. So we've got another couple weeks to go on that as well. We just issued a senior survey as we continue to work with our seniors to understand their needs and their wants and their expectations. As we look at our current facility at McCrimmon Corners, that lease will expire later this year, so we are examining opportunities to give the seniors some expanded space, some expanded programming, so we continue to meet with them, but we encourage all of our seniors that might be interested, and please take the senior survey and let us know what you think. Let us know what you feel so we can use that information to inform decisions that are guided by our seniors and ultimately made by council as far as what a future facility is for the seniors. Again, excited, I already mentioned our website redesign, so you've seen sort of the first step towards that. There's a lot of work going on internally on that, but there's also community outreach. Just mentioned tomorrow night here at 6 o'clock, the first half an hour of that stakeholder engagement will be around the website before they then move into some other smart cities and other engagement opportunities. Really would like to hear from the community what they'd like to see different, better, et cetera. We spent 2024 doing department presentations, and I think we had a lot more fun with that than we perhaps expected. You can find all those presentations on YouTube, but a really good opportunity to share with you as council, and I think also the community, what our departments do beyond what's obvious. People may think a certain thing about planning or inspections or engineering, but when you get to really see who the people are and the work that they actually do and the training and the expertise and the specialty they bring to their work, I thought it is very impressive and really did a good job of educating the community about some of the work that our team does. Our newsletter, we are shifting that to digital. So if you wish to continue to receive that as a mailing, you need to opt into that. If you do not opt in, then you will begin to receive it digitally. We want you to sign up for that so that we can transition over and make that more efficient and quite honestly, less costly to send that electronically rather than everyone in the mail. And then, of course, I think we can't even call it our new URL anymore at this point, but morrisvillenc.gov is out there. So it speaks a little bit more to who we are and where we are, but it also really enhances our security is the primary reason behind doing that. So again, kudos to Rick, Ralph, and the IT team for that. And then finally, meaningful connections. Again, trying to maintain that small town feel with our community. So we once again hosted not only Major League Cricket games, we got involved with the World Cup. We hosted Sri Lanka for some warm-up matches. We have had USA Cricket here. We have a lot of different things happening at Church Street Park. Our special events continue to grow and expand, and they continue to change a little bit. Sometimes the name changes a little bit. The way that it's handled happens a little bit. We've seen Boo Bash be incredibly successful. Of course, we wouldn't ever change Morrisville, so that's still out there, our sort of unique grab. But lots of opportunities to celebrate special events, to celebrate the multi-diverse culture in Morrisville, and to meet a lot of new people and have a lot of fun at those. Public Works, we continue to share with the community the good work of Public Works. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson, you had helped us look at that, and again, really important that they do so much more in the community, I think, than what people realize. And so they're invaluable as part of our public safety team, as part of our first responder team, but also about quality of life and beautification and making sure that things are accessible and working well. So we very much appreciate them. We have updated our banner program, again, continuing to celebrate diversity, inclusion, and different businesses in our community. Trying to expand our outreach, doing more of meeting people where they are, getting out of town hall. It's kind of like the principal's office. Not everybody wants to come to the principal's office, so you need to go where people are, and they always appreciate that. We've established a new partnership with the Rotary Club, so we sponsor several of our town staff to be a part of the Rotary Club to keep them engaged in Morrisville. It's a growth opportunity for our staff, but it's also an opportunity to support the town's only civic organization. So we're pleased to be doing that. And then, of course, we continue to expand our work and our partnership with the Chamber of Commerce. Really excited about what's coming with Tiffany and her new role. And as we add our small business specialist and they begin to work with Christy and Wendy and the team at the Chamber, I think the sky's the limit on some of the good work that can be done there. Deep breath. So that was a lot, but I think it's because with your vision and your guidance and your policies and just incredibly good work of the team and the support of the community, we've accomplished a lot for Morrisville. That's what we're here for. We're proud to do that. We're proud to have your leadership supporting doing that. And we look forward to just transitioning into FY26 and looking for even more opportunities to do good and support quality of life in Morrisville. Happy to take any questions you may have on that portion of the presentation. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
So did you breathe at all during all of those
Twice.
pages? Oh my goodness. No, great work. I really do appreciate you breaking that down by category so we can kind of look at the deeper, impact within each of the disciplines across the town. I was a little worried that with the significant change in our tax rate and impact on our community, that we wouldn't deliver. And there's a little wait and see kind of thing. But this does represent a lot of the good work that we've been delivering since that time, and there's even bits and steps in there that we're going to keep going in fiscal year 26 and beyond. So well done in showcasing the investment to the community and the accomplishments we've been able to do because of their support. And so well done, and I think that the next section is also going to talk about where we want to go as a council, and that's a really nice tee up for that. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's not a comment, but actually it's not a question, it's a comment, because you started by saying mine is a small piece of it. So that scares me now.
No, don't be scared. Don't be scared. Jeannie has, I think I'm going to transition if there's not other questions or points to Jeannie. She's going to follow up with you in regards to what we heard and saw at the retreat as you did this score exercise. And again, this was really our 2-year sort of mini refresh of the 5-year CIP to let you, again, make sure that you still feel we're all on the same page and what our priorities are. And so I will turn it to Jeannie and to Byron, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Just going to point out, this is half a year. That accomplishment's half a year. We have half a year to go. Just think about what that means and how much more we can lift up and celebrate to the community once the rest of the year is complete. So, all right, so the SOAR exercise was the first exercise, the using the colored dots that I had you all do, where we just wanted to get inside your head a little bit. This is where we formed last year. Your budget philosophy, the things that helped staff know where you were at, helps us know how to prepare and plan and align work, needs, and resources that really align to what your interests and values are. So it's really giving you another stab at this year. If something's changed, what would that look like through the SOAR exercise? So from that, we evaluated, interestingly enough, we asked you to identify strengths that you see, and we also asked you to identify your opportunities as how you see that. And in the SOAR exercise, the strengths and the opportunities become your tools to aspire to new things or great things and produce results. So going through that exercise, you really revealed what you value as your strengths and where you see your opportunities. And I tried to do this as simply as possible, and in doing a Wordle that helps sort of bring to the surface what your words are and the things that really came jumping out in the strengths. If you look at what we do well is we're very welcoming. And some of the things that you valued as strengths that help us identify with seeing that as a strength of what we do well, being welcoming, is that we're inclusive. We're very good at trying to make sure all aspects of what we do, that we keep that focus on inclusivity, we keep that focus on diversity, and recognizing that that's a huge strength in our community. It's not just about the people or the demographics, but it's about the diversity of our programs, how we communicate and engage. And those are all sort of key things that I've heard from you as I synthesize your words through this exercise that really flowed through and flowed through forward of how we could utilize and tap into those things. Something that emerged was special events as a strength. It was mentioned that we should be leveraging the popularity of our events as means of engaging and creating diversity, and that you value that we do that as a core strength, but we can do that to engage better and different in the future, and that becomes an opportunity and becomes an aspiration that produces even better results. So you take what you see as a strength, an opportunity, and you move it through the process. Another one that I'll just call out is you see cricket as a unique nuance to Morrisville, and you also value the fact that the work that we've done towards solar panels is setting the stage for being a future leader. You want to aspire to that, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. So when I look at your words, just some of the things that when I go through and synthesize what you're saying, you value recreation and infrastructure, and the words you had were events, were popular events, were parks. These terms really heighten the importance that you feel that recreation and facilities, community events, and really catering to that diversity means to you. And that's what we need to hear you say. We need to have that understanding as we are aligning future budget ask, is how can we hit that mark for you that you can now hold up to the community, to residents and businesses through their lens and their perspective, how we can hold these things up and celebrate them through leveraging their tax dollars in better ways. Excellence and professionalism is something that really came out in this first one also, and I'll just touch on a couple of these. I won't go through all of them. But that term really focuses on you valuing the strength that we have in our people to maintain high standards. You touched on words like the professional development, elevating the recognition and celebrating our successes of our folks and what they do for the community, and really that transparency and building up our image in the future is what you feel like we can take that and work towards and aspire to and create results. And then, of course, the fiscal responsibility. That's you recognizing how forward-thinking you are as policymakers, and what you hold us as staff accountable for in really taking what you give us to work with and making the absolute most out of it for the community. Any thoughts as we look at our strengths? Any comments from the group? This is me trying to affirm your words and trying to assign future meaning to really what those priorities are that are going to be our philosophy that staff gets to take away and work from. Okay. All right, so let's jump to opportunities and talk through that just a little bit. So the obvious thing in opportunities that you see that what partnerships to improve or to value is business partnerships. You came across in so many different ways is that I heard you say in your words that you wanted to leverage business partnerships, not just in small businesses, but you even wanted to tap into our larger tax-based business community, because you felt that there is an opportunity to tap in and spread the word of sustainability, energy saving measures, and really what you're getting there is you're broadening your scope of who you work with, and you're creating a more community aspect and interest in spreading the word of sustainability, not just in our actions here and what we do in projects, but you want to bring in partners and spread the word and get them involved in creating and making a difference in the community. And those were some of the things that just started to connect. That's a way to partner with larger corporations. And another one is you valued, that really came through in several folks that said this, is this renewed chamber relationship. And the manager just pinged on that. And the fact that we have this economic development director, we have a small business position that will be filled, and we have a new chamber president that has a new perspective, fresh look. That's a fantastic opportunity that you're telling us you want us to leverage harder, to aspire to something greater and to produce even better results, because you've already valued the work that we have done in small business. So just synthesizing just a few of these words, revenue generating, of course, pops up there with economic development in your conversations. So economic growth and support, some of your words were taking advantage of that, like I said, that chamber partnership, but micro business opportunities, those smaller businesses, and really celebrating them and getting them a part of that partnership chain. And I thought that one was very interesting. Creating revenue generating diversity. That's another way of looking and valuing a strength we have, but applying it to the finance structure and diversifying and finding different alternatives. And that's your sponsorship dollar policy, and your donations is a potential to leverage new avenues of resources. These may emphasize really the initiatives that support future economic growth, really that balance of affordability in our community and opportunities of all businesses at leveraging all business types, not just small businesses, but those larger taxpayers that we have in our commercial group. Is let's get them involved in that conversation of what is Morrisville Live Connected, Live Well. Safety and infrastructure development, you throughout your strengths, your opportunities, your aspirations, and really what you want to see in results, public safety is paramount to you. And it's interesting this year is your public safety went to more than just facilities. It went to a community feel, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, but it came out loud and clear as you were looking at it as more than just about building a fire station, about adding firefighters. It's about a sense of what the community feels when they live in Morrisville, and that is that they feel safe. So any thoughts on opportunities that you'd like me to expand a little bit more? All right. Aspirations. What do you aspire to be? Loud and clear, economic resiliency really rose to the top. The one I think is fascinating is that fully engaged community. I like that terminology, and fully engaged is tapping into the comments back when you recognize your strengths and opportunities, partnerships, but partnerships not just with the chamber, but with different entities across the community. And you even touched on faith-based focus, as well as larger tax base, as well as micro businesses, as well as other folks that are in our community, and that diversification of fully engaged and really stepping it up. You value that what we've already done, but what can we do better, and with who can we do it with, and making that connection. Another one that I found really great comment that just resonated, and multiple comments just started feeding and building on this, was age-friendly community. In your programs and how we communicate and engage with people even, it is that you want us to engage across the board, from youth to teens to adults to really the senior community, to folks that speak different languages, to folks that own businesses. It is you're telling us you want us to be extremely diverse and inclusive. You want us to leverage that strength and that opportunity that we have here in Morrisville even more so, to broaden and expand our opportunities. I thought that was a great way to say what you value most. It was there last year, but you're putting an even more defined spin on it. For staff to hear that, now we know what we really need to do. It helps us define and prepare budgets. Let me call out just a couple here. One of the things that is an aspiration that you recognized as a strength is technology was mentioned, but you're using the word technology here in yours to aspire to even greater things. And some of the things that technology can touch on is really utilizing different methods to engage, utilizing different methods to create additional sustainability programs and outreach and opportunities, is really using what we do well even better. Any thoughts on aspirations before we leave this? Okay. All right. Last one, and then we'll get to my sum up slide, and then I'm going to want to see if there's anything that we want to change, anything that we need to define a little better. But let me walk through just your thoughts here on results. So as you look at results, when we were all at the board, I heard something, and that was really completing projects, is you want us to produce results. And you want that because you actually said, and it's one of the items that I think is your emerging priorities, is you want to be able to celebrate that to the community, that you hold up their investments, you're transparent about if there are delays, but you want to get things done and effectively and in good fashion, and be able to get that resource out to the community so they can enjoy it and they can value what it took to get it there. And that's really the taxes that they pay into the community, and seeing that tangible thing come to fruition. And that is valuing that resident and business lens to produce results. Here's where we landed on what your meaning of public safety is this year. It's really about a sense of place, a sense of Morrisville being felt as a safe place. And that could mean not just adding fire stations or people. It could be about safety of your greenways. It could be lighting on greenways. It could be really the safety in your programs, that you give Public Works enough resources to be able to make sure that the parks and the playgrounds are safe to work on and to play on. And that the tools that we have, that we're able to use those and leverage those to make that happen. But that really became something more than just about building assets, but making pedestrians feel safe in crossing a road, drivers feeling safe because you've reduced congestion, and having the sense and feel of being a safe community. And that could even go down to those data metrics of reducing crime and what that takes in order, through a budget, to be able to make that happen. Oh, yes, Councilmember Robb.
I just wanted to say that also part of being a safe place is also the inclusivity and the celebration of diversity. I think that factors strongly into feeling like you live in a safe place to be yourself. Like we celebrate Pride Month, we celebrate Juneteenth, we celebrate Holi and Diwali, we celebrate Christmas and Easter, we celebrate Halloween. Like the fact that we celebrate our diversity, to me, goes that extra step toward, it's not just okay to be you in Morrisville. Like we celebrate, we're happy that you're here. And I think that's, the world is increasingly not a safe place. And I think that has to be called out as another way that Morrisville is safe.
I like that. I think that's great. It aligns with many things that I'm hearing you say, from your strengths, opportunities, to what you aspire to. And I see it here in strong, engaged community. I see it here in All America City, what that can mean to other folks, to you. I think that's a wonderful comment. Thank you. Councilmember Johnson.
We do a great job, and I'm the first one. I've been saying for years, when I had the opportunity to get up in front of anybody, I would talk about how Morrisville is the most welcoming and diverse, and then over time I added inclusive community, and I still believe that. But not everybody feels that way. So I want us to think about that when we do our programming, that we really are being diverse in the cultures and the folks that we highlight. So for example, where I go to, there's an easy, low-hanging fruit is our international festival, making sure that it's not focused on one diverse community or one culture, but it's really inclusive of all. And so I said at the Parks and Rec, looking at Ann because she was there, I said at the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, you're going to hear me say that often. So I've decided that's going to be my mantra for a little while too, because I think we're good at that. But I think we have to remind ourselves that this really is a diverse community with all kinds of people that we want to feel welcomed
Thank you. That's hitting right on what the SOAR is all about. As you said, welcoming was a strength and something that is important. And you said inclusivity and diversity is a strength. Let's leverage that and make it even more. Okay, let me see if there was another one. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Fender.
Well, I noticed on the previous slide, I thought it was interesting that on our strengths, we highlight diversity and inclusivity, but then it also came out on opportunity. So I wonder what that's about, or maybe it has something to do with what Councilmember Johnson was just referring to.
How I interpreted that with the SOAR exercise specifically is you identify that you have a strength already, and you identify that you want to use it, you see it as an opportunity to do more with it. That's really how I interpret what you were telling us through your words and your phrases. And again, I was synthesizing for really common interest and kind of filtering it out. But those things continuously came to the surface, and I think that's because you see it first as a strength, but then you see it as that opportunity to leverage even harder. Makes sense? Okay. All right. Let me touch on one thing in results. So innovation and project management, it's something that came out in your conversation through results, and that's hitting on completing of projects. So I just wanted to touch on that. The term just really highlights the efficiency of project completion, but it's that results-oriented approaches that we leverage maybe different to get what we need. That's really that, I know some folks don't like to use this term, but that's out of the box. What's the, so results-oriented approaches to get projects completed or to do more projects is thinking outside the box, being innovative, alternative solutions, and getting everything, the biggest bang for your buck. Sometimes forces us to step back, to step forward, and rethink the concepts. Councilmember Fender.
Yeah, so one question I had on here is engage sustainability. What does that mean?
So one of the things that I've heard through results of you aspiring to be a leader in sustainability, there was a need to tap into other resources in the community. So engage sustainability was reaching out to larger corporations and really getting them involved in creating a community culture even within that large business base of valuing sustainability practices. So that's reaching farther than just ourselves. That's involving others and creating a culture around that. And that's just how I captured that in that group conversation. All right, so let's move on to, well, what does it look like if we took all of those words through the Wordles and we really synthesize and boil down to what does it mean, what really emerges to the top that I see as the common themes amongst all of you. And this is where it landed. Engagement is really embracing, let me get my glasses back on, embracing the resident and business perspective to improve connections. That came across just loud and clear, and that's a perfect example. Engaged sustainability. That was something that reached out to me and said, all right, you want us to really even go even further than where we're going right now with certain things. Leveraging well-attended events came up, and I thought that was great. Programs and committees is another opportunity where what can we do to get them involved, to get them as a part of the conversation and leverage their knowledge and skills differently. Use of partners to connect diversity and outreach and feedback and elevate that factor of transparency and access. That's how I was coming up through your words of defining this year what engagement might mean to you. and how we would use that with our organization to create budget recommendations around that we can fulfill that. Inclusivity, it was building on access and cultural diversity, optimizing our welcoming appeal. This is leveraging that strength you saw, that welcoming appeal and our unique qualities, and using that cultural and business connections to broaden our reach. That's that inclusivity factor that I was hearing across the board. Transportation, we have a strength in our strong financial position. Let's use it for future investments. You've already set a great stage for that in some of your policy decisions that allow us to build reserves to really leverage and get projects shovel ready. And then we have our debt financing model and, of course, our core policies that we hold ourselves accountable to be fiscally responsible. But you want us to also accelerate improvements to complete projects and broaden mobility network. Those are the things that you valued when we say the term transportation. Business collaboration, you want us to tap into that corporate partnership resource, integrate community sustainability, use small and micro business partnerships, and embrace that renewed chamber relationship to strengthen the initiatives that we set out to do. I'll go through these and then I'll ask you for some feedback. So quality of life, this is the great one, exemplifying age-friendly programs and connections, creating housing opportunities, assuring outstanding reliable services, and invest in a skilled staff that bring innovation and succession forward. That's you valuing diversifying your programs and your reach, you valuing staff and giving them the tools and the skills to grow and advance the interests that you feel are connected to producing quality of life outcomes. Economic resiliency, this one, it's really to ensure your economic stability. I mean, I think you have seen the value, as the manager said, of having that direct span of control over that valuable asset of managing our economic engine in a town that is fixed 10 square miles. And that we need to do more with that, and this is how we're going to be able to do that in producing that future economic focus through providing startups and incubators, and entrepreneurships, but more so to seek that revenue-generating opportunity. Safe community, preserve Morrisville's image as a safe place, elevate overall community and pedestrian safety, and amplify really what that meaning of public safety is to our community. Sustainability and environment, Councilmember Scroggins-Johnson.
I just wanted to maybe look at quality of life. I wouldn't have thought of the quality of life defined the way that is presented in the slide, because I look at quality of life as through the lens of our support of the residents and businesses, and the spin for this element is our investment in staff. So I think we do value investment of staff to help provide the best support, innovation, and so forth. Maybe the quality of life header is not the best header for that. Maybe it's more innovation.
Okay.
And I think that, inspire innovation maybe. And, that's just my perception of what that represents.
All of the items
Under quality
or
of life.
just that one?
Under just quality of life. When I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, what is the best header? To me, it's inspiring innovation and investment.
Okay.
Quality of life could go in a few of the other ones, but it's just that struck me as it needed a different label.
So that's why we're here, is to affirm what does it mean to you. These are your words. And that's just what hit me with the multi-age
Right, and-
programmatic approach, but it does fit
No,
in
but-
innovation as well.
And this is an iterative process, so what you were doing is taking that, consolidating it down and giving it, I just, that's how I was, offered that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem Garamella.
So, yeah, just piggybacking, I think from looking at it, like I agree, like the staff does not really fit in there. And I'm looking at a point from voice of the customer that we call in our, is like the voice of the residents. What are they looking when they see this slide? From that lens is, I think it will be more effective because what are they getting or what are their priorities that we are using it? Internal staff, all those things are fine. That is our side. But use that as a lens, then you'll have a different viewpoint.
So let me make sure I understand. Are you supporting that it could be really more so around innovation as opposed to
No,
quality
not
of
just
life?
this. I'm talking about the whole.
The whole, okay.
Yeah, general is like it has to be. When I read this slide as a resident or a business, how does it attract me? And that we are working. I as a resident, I feel like okay, the town is working in the vision that rest of the residents are looking for.
Okay.
Or businesses, one of the two.
Councilmember Fender. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilmember Rabati. Thank you.
I think that the quality of life header is fun, actually. And I think that quality of life is resident quality of life is really important to us. The only thing is, I think that what I would do, because there are a number of things that came out over the whole SOAR where staff was identified as a key paramount for us. I would almost elevate excellence in operational excellence or staff, something like that, and then invest in skilled staff. And also from recognizing successes, I would take out value staff excellence and professionalism. I would take them out and put them in a separate category along with invest in training and development and leadership academies and I would put all of that under staff development or operational excellence category. Because the quality of life would be age-friendly programs and connections, housing opportunities, outstanding reliable services. I think that does speak to quality of life. Yeah, but I think that it would make more sense as a quality of life category if you took out that bit about the staff. And I think we can, for me, I would elevate staff to a priority, a separate category of its own.
Okay. Does that work with others if we separate the two, perhaps?
That's what was
Okay, yeah.
bothering is having staff and residents kind of in the same bucket, and to me,
Okay. Can
Councilmember
I
Fender.
comment,
Mhm.
please? I agree with Councilmember Robati and Councilmember Scar Johnson. It is the skilled staff portion that is just doesn't seem to be in alignment with the rest of the content there. I would want to keep quality of life as a priority because that is a major asset that we have in Morrisville. When I think about the quality of life here, it's it is the programs and our sense of community, but it's also like the fact that we have an aquatics and fitness center, and that we've invested in greenways, and it's investing in parks, and I think you could build out a bit more of the quality of life. I think there's a lot of other things we do that enhance the quality of life in Morrisville that a lot of our residents find important, like greenways and parks and the aquatics and fitness center.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
the parks and greenways was something that also got elevated in your conversations across your SOAR exercise. So that could be something that could get put here and break out the staff as a separate piece. I mean, no one says that you have to have that many. It's just that's where I landed when I was pulling these together. But it is yours and what you tell us. So I'm happy to be your servant to make this happen. Councilmember Johnson.
So I'm going to echo what Donna and
Okay.
Ann just said. I think quality of life needs to stay there. That needs to be beefed up a little more, and I'd include parks and greenways
Okay.
and recreation. I'd put all kind of words around that too. And then I like the idea of operational excellence box. I think
Okay.
that's important. And then I just wanted to ask Satish, so are you thinking that the title on the page needs to be different, like referencing the residents somehow or something? Yeah, because drawing out the emerging priorities, that alone doesn't cut it for me. Like
No, that's just from the exercise.
Yes,
This becomes your budget philosophy. And
yep.
this, just so I can add on to really what you said, and where this goes next and why this is so important, something I missed is it's not just about giving this to staff, but us turning it over to the community and sharing it with them and allowing them to provide feedback on these as to what it means to them, what value and priorities they might place on the items as they react to what you feel are the guiding philosophies for the budget. And that's part of that next process that comes with the outreach. You were done?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
Councilmember Rao.
Yeah, that's one. All of those presentations have been very helpful. I mean, the way that these priorities and accomplishments were listed to me were very well organized. And it's, for many years I always wondered, how could we show all the time that we spend here? What are the areas that we're focusing on? And then I think this is helpful because it shows our priorities. But, you laid out about outreach. One thing that I would like to see is how can we better communicate these successes to the community, to the residents of Morrisville. Not that we're not already doing that, but there's a lot of people out there that may not be listening to this meeting that don't understand where their tax dollars are being invested. I think Brandon Zudema, the manager, laid out very well that the staff is very proud of the work that all of us, along with the council, are doing. And we are investing the tax dollars for these results and these priorities. But I still today believe, and that's not our fault, that maybe it'll change with the way we're streamlining communication and social media, but I think we need to be showing every quarter at a really high level so people understand these are the things we did in transportation. These are the things that maybe with the website revamp, we talked about project dashboards and things like that, but I still today don't see somebody out there that's busy going to work, taking the kids to school, soccer, everything, knowing these are the 6 major areas where we're making progress in Morrisville. So whatever we can do to streamline our communications. Not telling you something you don't already know, but it just.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I just wanted to point out that even if we type like 60, 90 minutes, I think we're at like 15. Hey, no, we said we were going to be better about time, but I'm just calling it.
So with that said, I have on the screen the other items that I have not read. Are there any questions really about the other items with safe community, sustainability and environment, and then recognizing successes? That recognizing successes is important. Okay.
Just to me,
Good
it's
catch.
really important that celebration of diversity. I do think that it's important to me that be part of the safe community space. Psychologically, emotional safety, the safety of inclusion, something like that. I mean, don't just write it down because I said it, but if everybody agrees, I do think that's really important.
Okay. All right. Others? Comments? Councilmember Rao, you don't have any other comments?
I would just comment, I really like the earn sustainability and environment, sort of have it more public facing. We've done a really good job internally, but I'd really love to see us take those examples that we've done here and have the community emulate them and help them to be greener and more sustainable in everything they do as well.
Thank you. All right. So let's move forward, I think. Let me just make sure, just a quick check here. I think we have really covered most of these questions. I really appreciate you taking the time to do that because it is really important for the next steps that it's your words, not staff leading. You are leading. So dotmocracy, let me just go through the exercise. Dotmocracy, I've never seen so many dots in all my life. Paint one piece of paper. It was beautiful. Dotmocracy, it's an exercise. It's really an Eisenhower exercise in the 4 quadrants. And you're telling us really that refresh of what's important to you. Is it high importance, low importance? Do you want to do it sooner or later? And it helps me retest where things are falling. These projects are falling in the CIP as we align resources. So really good that nothing landed in the low importance, do sooner, because I think that's really odd. So you passed that test number 1, check. So we've got some projects we identified. This is the consensus of the group. This is 4 or more as to how things landed with the DOT exercise. And it just took a little while to get there because there's so many projects, but this is where things fell out. I don't see anything super shocking other than the questions that I have on the next page. Oh, you got me? All right. I'm going to call out some observations. These aren't really discussion items per se, but just observations. Panel array was a new project that was suggested. It didn't receive a consensus, and it's not currently in the CIP, but staff does, I'm just stating, staff does continue to explore those kinds of projects through the master sustainability plan for future projects. And we work hard at trying to leverage other resources to get those done. So just calling that out. The projects listed in the low importance and due later quadrant, I'm acknowledging to you, those are going to be unfunded projects. That's really what you're telling me, and I just need to be transparent about that. You have, though, 19 projects that fell above the fold, and those are high importance in those top 2 quadrants, and depending on funding of where those really fall out as to what might move or shift. Now, that draws me to my questions, so I need to get a little more information to know where you're sitting as a council. The intersection improvement phase 3, you rated it overall as a high importance, but you said as a sense of urgency, it was a later sense of urgency. That was confusing when I compare that to your statement of what you want us to produce results on. You want us to accelerate projects. So I just wanted to test, that was just more a matter of timing, more so than it was about the urgency and the importance of doing projects when we can fund them. Councilmember Scroggins Johnson.
Not everything can be do it now.
Yeah.
Roads and sidewalk improvements to me are essential, and we have a lot of moving parts. I would love to see aviation have sidewalks so that our events can be safer for people that are walking alongside. And I've been waiting and not prioritizing it because I kept thinking that our Campo organization would keep our aviation expansion in the mix. Now, so all this is like weeks old, and now I realize that this maybe later should be maybe now. In order, that's just an example. I have many examples, but my thinking is that, we are seeking additional state funding to make our dollars that go in the road and transportation space go further. So it's a partnership, and it's LAT funding, and it's a mix of that. So just to say do it now, that would be 100% town funding. And I think we need to kind of balance that. We do have I think it's a cent or at least half a cent that we have in a transportation fund that we could use for sidewalk betterments.
Thank you. That's helpful. Councilmember Rabati.
So I think that on the first question, the intersection improvements, I think the intersection, for me personally, there are things in the sooner column that I would move over. Like I would move the streetscape and landscape plan over to later, and quite frankly, I would move Markham Park over to later too, in order to get the intersection improvements done. I think those intersection improvements, I just think we need to just dig in and get them done. And
maybe they're over here because maybe some of it depends on DOT funding or something like, maybe that's how they ended up here, but it's just becoming clear to me that we can't really depend on anyone else for funding, and like, I'm glad that we've been putting aside money for transportation, because I wouldn't be surprised if we ended up doing that ourselves.
Thank you.
But anyway, I'd really rather see the intersection improvements over on the Sooner front and move some other things out.
I believe Mayor Pro Tem Garamillo, you were next. Okay.
Yeah, I think we may need to go one more exercise, because now, since we see that, other than posting it during that, has a different flavor to it. And my reasoning for intersection improvements was mostly around the betterment, because we can't do anything till they are done and then we deposit the money or whatever we do. But one thing that really bothers me, I think, as Anne is saying, we need to have a very hard look at what are the ones that we could do, not like a whole lot, but what intersections that we can really touch with a better impact, because we have been saying that line from ever since I came. And so, and it's hard to go again and again say intersection improvement where our signal lighting doesn't work properly, like traffic lights don't work properly. They are not flushing the traffic through. And so intersection improvements clearly shows up at that time, because, and that is where I think it is 54 widening betterments. I think we put it, but to be honest, I think we need to have a greater scrutiny among ours so that we can then give you a real sense of which ones it is.
Councilmember Fender, I believe you were next.
So, I think
Back to the chart, quadrant.
I think I might have had intersection improvements phase 3 as later, because I expected phase 2 to be sooner, but I don't see phase 2. Where did it go?
It's in progress already.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an active piece. The reason why I'm asking is because I felt like there was something amiss there between the two, and I just needed to get some clarity on that in particular, because you value transportation so high, and through the SOAR exercise, it was do sooner, and do more. So that's very helpful.
Well,
do you have other questions?
Yes,
Okay.
I had 2 more points. So with regards to that, I would agree with Councilmember Robati about making intersection improvements phase 3 as a higher priority than Markham Park. And then, I was going to say, I know we keep kicking down the can down the road with the Pew House. So I'm not surprised it's down here in this lower quadrant, but when I look at some of the items that are in the later, like the Wake Tech Park, I just see that project, although I want parks and green space, the Wake Tech Park, to get that, we haven't done any design, nothing on that, right? We haven't taken the first step to even doing a preliminary design as to what that looks like. I just feel that, that's probably years down the road. I feel like, the Pew House is something that is, I know it keeps getting delayed and pushed out, but it's something that's a much lower hanging fruit that could be done. There's already been, preliminary designs and looked at options. There's already a fair amount of planning that's been done around the Pew House. That is, to me, low-hanging fruit, whereas the Wake Tech Park, you're starting from scratch. And in reality, as things go, I mean, it's probably 3 to 5 years down the road. And I would just, I would much rather us see us, because I do something about the Pew House, because I think it would be really cool to promote the Pew House with our new town center. That all of that, there could be something done there. That all of that goes together to show the flavor of Morrisville. We have, you know, the historic church, the Pew House, and other houses like that. But then we're going to have this new innovative town center. That goes to placemaking.
Thank you. Mayor. Oh, Mayor and then Councilmember Johnson.
I think I was last.
Okay.
Yeah, so about the intersection improvements, I'm thinking that the right turn onto Davis from Morrisville Parkway is happening, Key Bridge is happening, so that's why I put these others to the right as later.
Okay.
They're important, but intersection improvements, I think the ones that are really going to make a big difference and be impactful, I think we're already doing them, and we've done the study, so now it's just a matter of funding them and making them happen. So that's where I was coming on that. I would love to do something with the Pew House. There's no affordable housing on here either. And the hurdles for those was simply just devoting the funding. We have everything we need to do either of those, but unless the council has the desire to just put money at it, they're going to stay later and low importance. So that's where that is. Just to touch on the Wake Tech Park, similar to what was the Church Street land, which had limited uses, that one still has limited uses. So it's just a matter of choosing a study, and essentially one thing that we could do right off the bat is we have a greenway, Mill Spring, already ending on the other side of the road, and we could just have a natural path which is not paved, because we're not allowed to pave in there, and just have a trail. We could just blaze a trail in there and start using it, because what's happening now is that we have that parcel of land that is totally fallow and not being used at all. And we don't have walking trails that are not paved. So I'm not sure if that's ADA problems or something like that, but there are things that I think we could do to make better use of the assets we have in place, like the Pew House, if we choose to front them and address them sooner. But I think we've run so lean on staff for so long, we're kind of used to really concentrating on getting things done. And we're executing a lot more than we have in the past, but I think there's still an urgency to try to get more done, but not spread ourselves too thin. So we're always trying to find the balance as a group. So those were the things I wanted to touch on that other people touched on there.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Johnson.
Did you have something? Okay. Remind me, Jeannie, what does sooner and later mean?
That's really a great question that I was going to circle back to. So in your quadrants, it is just really a bucket of where you felt when you were evaluating them. When you translate sooner and later to planning and aligning resources across 5 years, you're talking something that's in high priority due later could really land in that 3rd year of your CIP, your 4th year of your CIP. That's really the high priority, but maybe later, in balance with the things that are high priority due now when I take a look at that. And again, I didn't see really anything that's going to cause, like the Wake Tech property is planned, and it is in the middle of the CIP, not at the very tail end. The Pew House, for your comment, is that one's not on the chart. But the Wake Tech property is there as really in the middle of the 5-year picture. And it sort of fits with what I hear you say when I look at where things landed in the quadrants, that the only thing that jumped out to me was the intersections, that just didn't fit with what you were telling me in the other exercise, and this aviation parkway piece. That didn't fit. That leapfrogged completely into high importance and urgency. And that's why I put that question there. But the quadrants just give me a sense of your sense of value as we plan and align resources across that 5-year picture, or adjust it in this case. We're not redoing it completely. We just need to know what elevated above something, or what might be shifting that we need to consider. And we also have to take into consideration when we plan things, we can't fit everything in there, 19 projects. It is limited to your resources, your affordability and your capacity, and your cash resources that are restricted. So I can't just put certain cash resources to the Pew House in the way that I could put them to the intersection improvement or even to the Wake Tech. You've got more leverage, more resources for Wake Tech property as a park than you maybe do for a Pew House. So those are the things that I take into consideration as I translate what you're giving me here in those buckets, and how I plan that across a 5-year picture that really has a near term, a midterm, and a long term in a 5-year picture. Did I answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, very much so. So, because now I'm wondering if not only does some of this shift between the blue and the green, the light green, but does it shift down to the pink? And one of, like Markham, like remind me the definition of Markham, because I'm not sure we're going to build a park there anytime soon. So maybe that's one that shifts.
So I think a couple things I would suggest to keep in mind, and that's a good point. So Markham, we do not control. We control enough properties there that we think we're the future buyer, but we do not control sufficient properties there that I would recommend moving forward with any planning. I don't think it's ever a good idea to plan on properties you don't own. I think that's pretty presumptive. Not that you would do that, just that's where I think we sit. So when you look at that versus Wake Tech Park, we control Wake Tech Park. Now, I'm not saying it should be a tomorrow priority, but if you look at the two of those, I think you are going to have a better opportunity if you wish to proceed with a park with Wake Tech before Markham, just from an availability standpoint. I think you also want to keep in mind that there's a couple things on here that aren't completely in our control. We're in some cases working with DOT. So, NC 54 widening betterments. We think we know today when that's going to let, and that's in, I think we're at April of 26 is ballpark let right now. So, right now that's a 2026 priority if we're going to do it. But if they push, they push. If they don't, they don't. So I think looking at that is a piece of the puzzle. And along with that, when you look at something like townwide streetscape and landscape, we can continue to kick that, but at the same time, you're continuing to do more projects like NC 54 betterments that would be largely dictated by a streetscape and landscape plan. So it's a little, in the long run, inefficient to go through that exercise every time you do a betterment, where it would be easier to refer to, hey, here's your plan for streetscape and landscape. We'll apply that to this betterment opportunity. Now, again, there's money there and there's pieces to that, but I think that's something to keep in mind. The same thing, for example, with Cedar Fork Elementary Athletics. That's a low priority for you right now, but when the school system's ready to do that, we have an agreement in place that we have some obligations to meet there as well. So that's a little bit out of our control depending on the timing. So just some thoughts there as far as understand your prioritization, and we just can't ignore when sometimes things may pull or push that we don't control. Thank you.
So I believe, Councilmember Rabani, did you have another question?
Can I be honest with you? When I talked about the townwide streetscape and landscape, I totally missed plan at the end of that one. So having the plan in the sooner column is fine with me. I thought we were going to spend money on streetscapes and landscapes right now, and to me that'd be a lower priority than intersection improvement. But the Markham Park one, the only thing about that is I thought that item would also refer to land acquisition as part of, because I do think when that land becomes available, I want to be able to acquire that land. So to me, that stays in the sooner column just because if we don't have site control, we can't ever do anything.
I think that's a good point. Sorry, let me just back on. I think that's a good point. I think when and it may be perception, when I look at that, I look at planning and developing a park. So we are absolutely committed to, as part of your land acquisition policy and your land acquisition fund, to pursue town center properties and to pursue Markham properties. I think that's 1A and 1B of your current priorities as they become available. And then if other things were to arise, they would. So I do look at that a little separately from this would be design and build a park.
Okay,
And
well
we're
then
just
I
not
agree
there.
on moving it over.
Okay, thank you.
With Markham, okay. All right, let me move along. Did you have another question?
Just
Comment?
the only other comment about the intersection improvements, I do agree that I would make that sooner. We have no road projects happening in town. We just don't. DOT is pushing everything. And so we know intersection improvements can help considerably with congestion. So that does need to be a priority for us because that is something in our control. And we don't have control over a lot of what DOT is doing.
So I think I'm hearing some consensus around intersection projects could potentially be shifted forward. Sort of lines up with what you were telling me in the other exercise. I'm hearing Markham could potentially slide a little bit, maybe not off the 5-year picture. We're still doing land acquisition that would impact that park and gaining site control. So those are the common things that I've heard so far. Hugh House, I haven't heard a common theme yet, other than I think staff is with you on wanting to do something with it because we've put a lot of money to it. So it's just always there, and we're always trying to come up with different ideas. Did we have the mayor? Was he? Okay, mayor. And then Councilmember Gallo.
I know we're trying to just finish this tonight. Thank you very much. If you were to maybe throw the true Eisenhower at us, where you compare each of them, all 19, against each other online. We've done that exercise in the past, and that would really make it very clear what things we think go first next to each other. Because when we were doing this dot, as you can see, there was like 30 things, and there was a little bit of fatigue, and where am I actually putting this? And we weren't able to compare them one-to-one. So there might be things in sooner and later that we actually wanted to reverse. So that would be just a thought.
And you'll have that ability when we propose or we put an alignment of resource and really see how things can fit with the restricted sources that you have. Some things you're not going to be able to move forward because you don't have a source available at that time. Right. And it could be also related to timing of other partnerships that we know about as we are looking with the CIP. But that's certainly some information that I can share with you all that could be the basis of maybe how we see this landing for you. Again, you all do very good at reacting to something we give you. And I think when we align the funding with it and how it lays out in that 5-year picture or what really changed or didn't, I think then you can have some retest, your theory with the Eisenhower project and really kind of look at it again. That's usually the logical next step.
Okay, good, thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Mayor Pro Tem Garamilla.
I think we need to time box this first because it's just going way over. This is just a result that we stuck it. I think we are going too much into the weeds. I think Brandon and you have to come up with a plan of each line. Like if you're putting on the sooner, like example, Cedar Fork Elementary Athletics, if that is a priority we have signed, that needs to be all stated, the things that we have done. But all this conversation can come later. This is just you're showing what it is. And we can go for hours on these things.
I think that's a good point. Thank you. I think we've heard a lot of good feedback. I think we can revisit this and bring it back to you as we continue conversations. Jeannie's right. This will blend naturally into a future conversation.
And again, you'll get the funding, which I think I've always heard from you all. That's when it starts making sense to you, is what sources are available or not available. Allow you. So these are the things, the next steps, the follow-up. So staff's working on retreat follow-up, and I just wanted to put them back in front of you. These are from your flip charts. And the FAQs, I've added a couple tonight. So your generative AI, what's the type of co-pilot and what will it do? We'll provide a little more definition there. But it's largely internally in our environment. And then bond-funded projects, what is that list? That's all that I have so far.
And I would also put as a parking lot or wherever it is, where do we stand with traffic light? because I've been hearing forever that Kerry is doing, but I'm not seeing any results on when I drive.
The coordination.
Traffic light
coordination.
management?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whatever it is, I know we had a 500,000 grant from Campbell, but I don't know where that went, but I don't see any improvement in the traffic.
So again, the consensus was transportation related or intersection projects, Markham, sort of swapping, adding these items to the FAQs, the items that this one we just heard, the generative AI, and then the bond. Bringing back really that picture is just a part of the process, but being able to ask these filtered, digging in questions is really important to get in your head as we start working with that model for the CIP. So thank you for at least giving us the time to touch back with you on what you were saying, how you were saying it, and what it was looking like, and I appreciate that.
No, I think we're ready to move to the closed session when you are.
Okay. So we have two closed sessions. Excuse me. We have two closed sessions at this time. We have no plans for additional public business after our next segment. I would now like to thank you for attending this meeting in the Morrisville Town Council. We hope you plan to join us again. Please feel free to email your town council members at towncouncil@morrisvillenc.gov or visit our website. I would ask for a motion to enter into our closed sessions to discuss a personnel matter and property acquisition.
The mayor and council pursuant to North Carolina statute 143.318.11A5 and A6, I move that we go into closed session to discuss a personal property matter and a personnel matter.
I have a motion from Councilmember Rao, a second from Councilmember Fender. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that carries unanimously. It is 9:01. We are in closed session.